What's going on, you guys? Mr. Money 1235 here yet again for another album review. Skrillex, Recess. The first ever Skrillex album has finally been released upon us after numerous EP after EP after EP. My favorite EP has definitely got to be the Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites EP. I mean, I got into Skrillex with that EP, and it's one that I find to be really refreshing and new every single time I listen to it. Rock and roll, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, Kill Everybody, Scatta, these songs are just amazing. I also really enjoyed more Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, Bangarang, Leaving EP. I love these EPs, and I love dubstep music, especially from Skrillex. So after listening to all those wonderful EPs, how do Skrillex's first album match up? Well, I can tell you from the YouTube comments on the full album videos that have been posted everywhere on YouTube for this thing, that some people are really disliking it. And it goes back to the same argument that I have about Green Day and Linkin Park especially. These albums are both good. They're different, but they're good. These albums are both good. They're different, but they're good. These albums are good. They're different, but they're good. Do you see what I am trying to say? People need to open up their mind a little bit. Yes, this album is not filled with those huge banging big fucking drops and loud fucking synthesizers like you're used to on his EPs. There's a whole lot more chilled, laid back songs on this thing. You still got your bangers on this thing like All Is Fair and Love and Bro Step and Reggae Bomb, but for God's sake, open your mind a little bit and expect artists to change and develop as time goes on. That's another huge mistake that I made in my original Vampire Weekend Modern Vampires of the City review. I was bitching about how much I didn't like how old elements of their music wasn't featured on the new album, and I shouldn't have thought that. I was wrong. I just don't see why people want artists to stick to the same sound album after album. If that's true, then I have a whole lot of Black Keys fans watching me, because every single time you buy a Black Keys album, you know exactly what you're getting. The album is going to be blues rock. It's always blues rock. Every album is blues rock. Even though on Attack and Release and Brothers and El Camino they added, you know, like keyboard parts and bass parts, it's still blues rock, even though they kind of changed from their really stripped down guitar, drums, vocals, that's it sound, like on Magic Potion and Rubber Factory. But nevertheless, let's get into the music of this album. Like I said, All Is Fair and Love and Bro Step is the opening song on this album, and I think it's a great way to begin this album. Kind of calls back to classic Skrillex, like I mentioned before. Just a really huge drop, really catchy beats, really fast-moving, punchy track. It's really awesome. It's what you expect, really, from Skrillex. The title track of this album is next to the song Recess. It just has this killer, catchy beat that just makes me want to dance to it. It's so hard not to dance to this entire album, honestly. The melodies on this title track are just so catchy. I cannot get this song out of my head. It's really, really memorable, and that's a huge point to give to this album. Because when I personally think of dubstep, I can imagine a whole lot of the songs kind of like, you know, blending together and all kind of sounding the same, because let's face it, it's all wub wubs and big drops. The next song on this album, Stranger, I think is also really cool. It's got this really memorable vocal line on it that I think is really cool thrown in there. You'll become a stranger. It's also really memorable. Like, it's really cool that I can listen to this album and after like the first two listens I'm already remembering tracks based upon album titles and how memorable some of the chords and melodies and vocals are. The next song on this album, Try It Out, the Try Harder remix, I've heard a little bit before this album came out, and I think that this version is a little bit more classic Skrillex, and I think a whole lot of the classic Skrillex fans are going to kind of move on to the Try Harder remix, because the Neon remix on this album doesn't go near as hard as the Try Harder remix. So if you like old Skrillex, go try out the Try Harder remix, but the Neon mix is also, I think, really good, honestly. I like the Neon mix on this album because I think it fits more with the rest of the songs that are located on here. It would sound really good if the Try Hard remix was put on this thing. But nevertheless, it's there for preference and opinions. Just pick which one you like better. The next song, Coast is Clear, I think also has a really, really catchy vocal line to it. Really memorable lyrics on this thing from Chance the Rapper. It sounds a little bit choppy there in the beginning and something seems a little bit off about it, but as the track goes on I get more used to it, and I just think it's a really fast-moving, punchy track with, once again, another really catchy, kind of memorable vocal line, spoken word. The lyrics on this song just kind of, they stay in your head. They do their job well. The next song, Dirty Vibe, I really love how fast-moving this track is as well. It's got a really catchy vocal line to it, but the only problem that I have with this track personally is that I wish there was a little bit more musically going on with it. Like, most of this track is just a drum beat with a really fast vocal line. I was kind of hoping that maybe a drop or some electronics would come in a little bit harder than they actually did, but it's still fun to just kind of groove to this song. Like, it's still a really danceable track. I just wish there was a few more dubstep elements put into it than there were. Like I mentioned before, the next song of this album, Raga Bomb, is actually the biggest fucking club banger on this entire album. It really calls back to original Skrillex once again, and features the Raga twins, which Skrillex just seems to love collaborating with these reggae artists, and they sound really good. I mean, if you remember back to his Scary Monsters and Night Sprites EP, the song Scatta also featured some more reggae sounding vibes on that song as well. The next song, Doombe Poomp. I mean, this one, I don't think I'll ever be able to reference this album or this artist ever again. This song reminds me so much of Ween. It is so weird and kind of pointless, and it's just, why is this song on this album? It's just crazy. Good. Isn't this Ween album like the worst thing you've ever heard in your life? This song reminds me so much of Ween. I mean, it sounds really weird to say. I'm probably never going to mention that again on any album I review ever. But, yeah, this song, I just don't really see a whole lot of point in it. So that's really weird. The next track, Fuck That, just has a continuous line going over and over again. Fuck that, fuck that, fuck that. I mean, like, that's fine and all like that, but once again, kind of like I had on Dirty Vibe, I wish there was a little bit more emphasis on the electronics on this track. There's definitely quite a few going on, but something about it just needs to go a little bit harder. The next track, Ease My Mind, is a really slowed down jam with a really memorable vocal line on it from some woman singer. It's really good. And then Fire Away, actually, I think features Skrillex singing this song himself. Also really, really good, really atmospheric, really dreamy track. Kind of like All I Ask of You off of that Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites EP that I keep referencing to. Just a really good, slow way to end the album. This is just another one of those chill tracks like I was talking about that's on this thing. So I think it sends out the album on a really nice note, honestly. So as you can tell, apart from my little minor complaints, I guess I kinda am in that same boat as original Skrillex fans, that I wish there was a few more electronics placed here and there, but honestly, this album is not bad at all. I didn't hate any song from it. I mean, there was just some that I like more than others. That's about it. And if I can sit through this entire album and just have that complaint about it, that some songs are just better, and not hate any songs on it, then that's a good thing. So I am definitely going to be picking this album up, and it's definitely one of my favorites of this year. If you're a Skrillex fan that can open up their mind and realize that Skrillex is not going to make the same song over and over again, then you'll find enjoyment in this too, just like I did. So try it out, tell me what you think down there in the comments below. Mr. Mooney 1235, I'll see you guys later. Open your mind!